There is a very strange moment in some people's financial journey. A moment where everything still seems the same on the outside, but something profound is changing on the inside. You look at your bank account and the numbers haven't changed significantly yet. You look at your opportunities and they seem the same. But inside you, something is different. You can't name exactly what it is, but you feel that a door is quietly opening. As if your relationship with money is being rewritten in a language you haven't yet fully learned to read. And if you're watching this video now, maybe it's not a coincidence. Maybe you're exactly at that turning point where your financial shadow, that unconscious part that was blocking prosperity, is finally beginning to heal. Carl Jung, the Swiss psychiatrist who revolutionized our understanding of the human mind, discovered something fascinating. Before each significant leap in a person's life, the unconscious sends signals. Not loud or obvious signals, but subtle changes in how you feel, choose, and respond to the world. And today I'm going to show you the 7 clearest signs that your financial shadow is healing and your prosperity is closer than you imagine. Stay until the end because you may discover that the transformation you've been waiting for began much longer ago than you realized. Before I begin, I want to tell you something important. This video is not about blaming you for where you are financially. It's not about saying you did something wrong or need to try harder. It's about recognizing that if you're struggling financially despite doing everything right consciously, there may be an unconscious part of you, your financial shadow, operating with old beliefs that no longer serve you. And the good news, the really good news, is that when the shadow begins to heal, financial life changes naturally and surprisingly. So let's discover together if you're in this moment of healing right now. Number 1, when you stop forcing yourself to do things that no longer make sense. There's something very subtle that happens when financial shadow healing begins. You simply can't do certain things anymore that you used to do on autopilot. It's not laziness. It's not lack of discipline. It's as if your body and soul are saying, no, this is no longer our path. Jung called this healthy energetic rejection. When the self, your deepest and truest self, begins to align with your real purpose, it naturally rejects what no longer belongs to this new version of you. And this appears first in your relationship with money and work. Let me tell you about Sofia. Sofia worked for 8 years in an accounting office. She was excellent at what she did, received praise, had stability. But in recent months, something strange started happening. Every morning when she took the road to work, her body became heavy. It wasn't anxiety like before. It was something deeper, as if every cell in her body was saying you no longer belong here. Sofia tried to ignore it. After all, she had bills to pay, had security in that job. But the feeling only grew. Until one day driving to work, she simply stopped the car and started crying. Not from sadness, but from recognition. Her body had been trying to tell her something for months. She finally understood. That job was no longer aligned with who she was becoming. 3 months later, Sofia resigned without having another guaranteed job. Her friends thought it was crazy. But Sofia said something I never forgot. She said, for the first time in my life, I trusted something I couldn't explain rationally. And for the first time, I felt I was walking in the right direction, even without knowing exactly where to. This is the first sign that your financial shadow is healing. You stop forcing yourself to remain in situations your soul has already abandoned. Not because you're being irresponsible, but because a deeper wisdom is beginning to guide you. And if you're feeling this restlessness, this inability to continue doing what you've always done, don't blame yourself. It's a sign that something bigger is calling you to a new chapter. And I want to hear from you. Have you been feeling this too? This sense that certain things in your financial or professional life simply no longer fit? Leave a comment saying yes if this resonated with you. Because when you share, you not only validate your own experience, but help other people recognize they're not alone on this journey. Number 2, when money stops being just about survival and starts being about expression. There's a profound shift that happens when the financial shadow begins to heal. Money stops being just a survival tool and begins to become a form of expression of who you really are. Jung discovered that when we live only from the ego, the superficial self, money is always about fear. Fear of not having enough. Fear of losing what we have. Fear of not being worthy. But when we begin to live from the self, the deep and authentic self, money transforms. It stops being a source of anxiety and becomes a natural reflection of our creative energy in the world. You'll notice this change in very subtle ways. Suddenly you start thinking less about how much money you need to survive and more about what kind of value you want to create in the world. You stop asking how much will I earn from this and start asking, is this aligned with who I really am? It's not that money stops mattering. It's that it finds its right place in your life's hierarchy. A client of mine named Ricardo went through exactly this. Ricardo always worked in sales because it paid well. He was good at it, earned decent commissions, had a comfortable life. But he told me he always felt a strange emptiness. As if he was trading his energy for money but without it meaning anything beyond the exchange itself. Then Ricardo started a financial shadow work process with me. And one of the things he discovered was that since childhood he had a deep belief that money only came through sacrifice and painful effort. That if something was pleasurable, it couldn't be profitable. This belief came from his father, who worked at a job he hated but always said this is what real men do, work hard even when they don't like it. As Ricardo integrated this shadow, as he recognized that this belief wasn't universal truth but just his father's truth, something began to change. Ricardo began paying attention to what he really enjoyed doing. And he discovered he loved teaching. He started doing sales mentoring as a hobby, not charging at first. And for the first time in years, he felt he was offering something that came from the heart. 6 months later, Ricardo had more mentoring clients than he could handle. And he was earning more money doing what he loved than he earned forcing sales that meant nothing to him. He told me, I always thought I had to choose between doing what I love and making money. But actually, the more I do what I love, the more money flows naturally. This is the second sign. Money begins to align with your authenticity instead of fighting against it. And if you're starting to feel this desire for your work to mean something beyond just paying bills, if you're starting to imagine ways to make money doing what really matters to you, this isn't fantasy. It's your financial shadow healing and opening space for a healthier and more abundant relationship with prosperity. Number 3, when you stop undercharging without even noticing. This is one of the clearest and most surprising signs that your financial shadow is healing. Suddenly, almost without you consciously noticing, you start charging your real value. Not because you took a pricing course. Not because someone convinced you. But because something fundamental changed inside you. Your financial shadow often manifests through chronic undercharging. And this happens for various unconscious reasons. Maybe you internalize the message that asking for money is greedy. Maybe you unconsciously believe you don't deserve more than your parents had. Maybe you're afraid that if you charge more, people will judge or reject you. All these beliefs operate silently, making you set low prices, accept less than you should, not negotiate when you should negotiate. But when healing begins, something changes. Not dramatically. Not overnight. But gradually you notice you're saying no to projects that pay little. You notice you're asking for a higher amount almost automatically. You notice you're no longer apologizing for your price. A graphic designer named Melissa experienced exactly this. 4 years Melissa charged absurdly low amounts for her work. She knew other designers charged 3-4 times more. But every time she went to price a project, an internal voice said no, that's too much, they'll think it's expensive, they'll hire someone else. Melissa started doing shadow work when she realized she was working twice as much as other designers but earning half. And in the process she discovered something surprising. When she was 12, she heard her mother fight with her father because he had asked for a raise at work and been refused. The mother said, you shouldn't have asked, now they'll think you're too ambitious. And that phrase was engraved in Melissa's unconscious. Asking for more is dangerous. Asking for more gets you rejected. But as Melissa worked on this belief, as she realized that was her mother's fear, not universal truth, something began to change. In the next project that came up, Melissa found herself writing a budget with a 50% higher amount than usual. She expected to feel guilt, expected to back down. But she didn't. She simply sent it. And the client accepted without questioning. In the following months, Melissa gradually increased her prices. And she didn't lose clients. In fact, she started attracting better clients. She told me, it's as if I had been invisible to a certain type of client because my energy was saying I'm not worth much. And when my energy changed, clients who saw real value started finding me. So if you notice that recently without much conscious effort you're charging more, asking for more, accepting fewer low-value projects, this is a clear sign. Your financial shadow is healing. You're starting to operate from your real value instead of your unconscious fear. And if you're in this process now, if you feel something is changing in how you value yourself financially, leave a like on this video. Because each like is recognition that you're in transformation. And this collective energy of people healing strengthens each of us on this journey. Number 4, when you start seeing money as energy instead of scarcity. One of the deepest changes that happens when the financial shadow heals is how you perceive money itself. For most people operating from unhealed shadow, money is a physical thing, limited, that needs to be grabbed, protected, accumulated with fear of losing. But when healing happens, money stops being a thing and becomes energy. An energy that flows, that circulates, that comes and goes naturally when you're aligned with your purpose. Carl Jung talked about synchronicity, the principle that when you're internally aligned, the external world begins to reflect that alignment through meaningful coincidences. And one of the most common forms of synchronicity is financial. Opportunities appear exactly when you need them. Money arrives from unexpected sources. Doors open without you forcing. This isn't magic. It's the natural result of you no longer blocking the flow with unconscious fear. Let me tell you about Clara. Clara grew up in a family where money was a constant source of stress. Parents fighting about bills. Electricity being cut. Shame of not being able to buy what other kids had. And Clara developed a relationship with money based on deep scarcity. She saved every penny. Was afraid to spend even when she could. Checked her bank account several times a day with anxiety. Money to her was a potential enemy that could disappear at any moment. When Clara started financial shadow work, she realized she was operating from the wound of the 8-year-old who lived those scarcity moments. And that child was still trying to control the uncontrollable through constant vigilance and fear. As Clara integrated that part of her, as she recognized and validated that child's fear but also showed her that adult Clara had resources, skills and awareness the child didn't have, something remarkable began to happen. Clara began noticing patterns. Every time she needed money for something important, it appeared. Not always in the way she expected, but always at the right time. A freelance job would come up. An unexpected refund would arrive. Someone would pay an old debt. And instead of seeing this as luck or coincidence, Clara began to see it as natural flow. She told me it's as if the universe always knew what I needed, but I was so closed in fear that I couldn't receive. Now I trust. And when I trust, money flows. This is the 4th sign. You start trusting financial flow instead of trying to control out of fear. You start seeing that when you're aligned, doing the right work, offering real value, money is a natural consequence. Not something you need to chase desperately, but something that responds to your energy. And if you're starting to experience this, if you're noticing more financial synchronicities, more flow, more ease, know it's not illusion. It's evidence that your shadow is healing and you're entering a new paradigm of prosperity. Number 5, when you stop comparing your financial situation with others. This is one of the most liberating signs of all. When the financial shadow is active, you live in constant comparison. You see someone buying a house and feel behind. You see someone traveling and feel incapable. You see someone having business success and feel small. Comparison is a direct symptom of shadow because it comes from an unconscious belief that there's a limited amount of success in the world, and if another person has it, it means there's less for you. But when healing happens, comparison simply loses power. Not because you forced yourself to stop comparing, but because you started operating from a different place. You began understanding that each person is on a unique journey, in unique timing, with unique lessons. And another person's success has nothing to do with your possibilities. Jung called this individuation, the process of becoming who you truly are instead of trying to be a copy of another person. And when you're on the path of individuation, comparison stops making sense because you're no longer running the same race as others. You're running your own race. A businesswoman named Beatriz experienced this intensely. Beatriz had a small consulting company and spent hours on social media watching other consultants flaunt success. Imported cars. Luxury offices. Famous clients. And each post made Beatriz feel like a failure. Why wasn't she at that level? What was she doing wrong? This constant comparison drained her energy and ironically prevented her from growing because she was focused on what she didn't have instead of building what she had. When Beatriz started working on her financial shadow, she discovered something revealing. Her comparison wasn't about money. It was about validation. Beatriz grew up always being compared to her older sister who was prettier, more popular, more successful. And Beatriz internalized that she would always be the second option, always less than. And this old wound was manifesting through financial comparison. As Beatriz healed this wound, as she recognized her own value independent of any comparison, the need to look at others naturally decreased. And something incredible happened. Beatriz stopped trying to copy other consultants' strategies and started doing consulting her unique way. And it was exactly this authenticity that made her business grow. She told me, when I stopped trying to be like so-and-so, I started attracting clients who wanted exactly what only I could offer. So if you notice that lately you're not as affected by others' success, if you can celebrate others' prosperity without feeling it diminishes yours, if you're more focused on your own path than others' paths, this is a powerful sign. Your financial shadow is healing and you're entering your own rhythm of prosperity. And at this point in our journey together, I want you to do something. Take a deep breath for a moment. Feel the softness that comes from recognizing you no longer need to compete with anyone, that your journey is unique and valid exactly as it is. And if these words touched something deep in you, share this video. Because there's someone in your life who also needs to hear that it's okay to be at your own pace. That prosperity isn't a race but a blossoming. Number 6, when you start making financial decisions from the future instead of the past. There's a subtle but profound change that happens when the financial shadow heals. You stop making decisions based on fear of what happened in the past and start making decisions based on the vision of what you're building. The financial shadow always operates from the past. If you saw your parents lose money in an investment, you avoid investing. If you grew up in scarcity, you accumulate out of fear. If you were betrayed in a partnership, you avoid collaborations. All these decisions seem rational on the surface but are controlled by old wounds. And they keep you stuck repeating old patterns. But when healing happens, you start asking not what went wrong in the past but what's possible in the future. Not what should I avoid but what should I create. This shift in temporal orientation is one of the clearest markers of consciousness evolution according to Jung. A businessman named Fernando went through this markedly. Fernando had a small but stable company. And every time an opportunity arose to grow, hire more people, invest in marketing, something inside him said no, it's too risky. Fernando always rationalized these decisions. Said he was being prudent, responsible. But the truth is he was being controlled by the past. Fernando's father had gone bankrupt when Fernando was a teenager. Had tried to expand business too fast and lost everything. And Fernando swore never to go through that. But this vow was keeping Fernando small not by conscious choice but by unconscious fear. When Fernando did shadow work and recognized this pattern, when he realized he was making decisions today based on 20-year-old trauma, something opened up. Fernando started asking different questions. Instead of asking what can go wrong if I grow, he started asking what can go right. Instead of focusing on risk, he started evaluating opportunity. And slowly, with therapeutic support, Fernando started making decisions that took him forward instead of keeping him stuck. 2 years later, Fernando's company had tripled. Not because he became reckless, but because he stopped letting the past drive the present. He told me, I realized I was honoring my father's trauma instead of honoring my own potential. And when I started honoring my potential, things changed. So if you notice that recently you're more willing to take calculated risks, more open to opportunities, more future-oriented than stuck in the past, this is the 6th sign. Your shadow is healing and you're starting to live from possibility instead of fear. And if you've made it this far in the video, I want to thank you. Because your presence here is not an accident. You're here because on some level you know you're ready for this transformation. So subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed. And turn on notifications so you don't miss the next videos where I'll continue guiding you on this financial healing journey. Number 7, when money arrives and you don't panic. This last sign may seem strange, but it's one of the most revealing. When the financial shadow is active, money that arrives unexpectedly generates anxiety. You earn a bonus and instead of joy you feel fear of losing it. You close a big contract and instead of celebrating you start worrying about taxes, responsibilities, expectations. You receive an inheritance and instead of gratitude you feel weight. This happens because subconsciously you don't feel deserving or capable of holding prosperity. Your shadow believes abundance is temporary, dangerous or not yours. But when healing happens, money that arrives is received with peace. Not with uncontrolled euphoria but with calm gratitude. You feel capable of receiving, capable of managing, capable of allowing prosperity to be part of your life without self-sabotaging. A teacher named Júlia experienced exactly this. Júlia gave private lessons and earned modestly, but she had the dream of writing educational books. One day she decided to publish an ebook independently. And to her surprise, the ebook went viral. In 1 month she earned more money than she earned in 6 months of classes. And Júlia's first reaction wasn't happiness. It was panic. She thought, this won't last, this is luck, I don't know how to handle this. And then she did something many people do unconsciously. Started spending impulsively as if she needed to get rid of the money before it disappeared. In 3 months the money was gone and Júlia was back to square one. But this time she had awareness. She realized she had sabotaged. And she sought help. In the shadow work process, Júlia discovered she had a deep belief that she didn't deserve more than the basics. That prosperity was for other people, special people, not for her. And this belief made it so that every time money arrived, she found ways to make it go away to return to the familiar level of scarcity. As Júlia worked on this belief, as she allowed herself to believe she was deserving, something changed. When her next book sold well, the reaction was different. Júlia felt gratitude, breathed, gave thanks, and did something she had never done. Saved part of the money. Invested part in her next project. Used part pleasurably but consciously. And noticed that this time the money didn't disappear. Because she was no longer sabotaging. She was allowing. She told me the difference wasn't in the amount that came in, it was in how I received the amount. Before I received with fear. Now I receive with openness. And when you receive with openness, money can stay. So if you notice that recently when money arrives, you feel calmer, more capable, more deserving, this is the 7th and final sign. Your financial shadow is healing deeply. You're becoming a person who not only attracts money but knows how to receive and keep money. And that changes everything. So let's quickly recap the 7 signs so you can clearly recognize where you are on this journey. Sign 1, you stop forcing yourself to do things that no longer make sense. Sign 2, money stops being just about survival and starts being about expression. Sign 3, you stop undercharging without even noticing. Sign 4, you start seeing money as energy instead of scarcity. Sign 5, you stop comparing your financial situation with others. Sign 6, you start making financial decisions from the future instead of the past. Sign 7, when money arrives you don't panic. If you recognized at least 3 of these signs in your life, know that you're in a deep healing process. Your financial shadow is integrating. And your prosperity is no longer a question of if but when. Not because you'll manifest magically, but because you're removing the unconscious blocks that were preventing money from flowing naturally to you. And that's much more powerful and lasting than any manifestation technique. Now I want to hear from you. How many of these signs did you identify in your life? Leave in the comments a number from 1 to 7. And if you want, briefly share which sign resonated most with you. Because when you share, you not only solidify your own transformation, but inspire other people to recognize theirs. If you liked this video, if it touched something deep, leave a like. Share with someone you know is on this financial healing journey. And subscribe to the channel to continue receiving content that truly transforms, not just informs. Because the world doesn't need more information. The world needs more healed, whole, prosperous people living their real potential. And you are one of those people. Thank you for being here. Thank you for having the courage to look within. Thank you for choosing to heal instead of just survive. I believe in you. I believe in your journey. And I believe your prosperity is closer than you imagine. See you in the next video.
If this resonated with you, subscribe to the Shadow Dialogue and hit that like button. Your transformation starts with one click. See you in the next video.